Hello everyone and welcome to Spilling the Tea, brought to you by Atollo. I'm your host Saskia, and these podcast episodes will be exploring the world of hospitality through the eyes of Gen Z. What are the questions we're trying to answer? What does the future of hospitality think, want and believe? So without further ado, it's time to listen to them.
Welcome to Spilling the Tea podcast. I am an unusual host for Spilling the Tea. I'm just filling in for Saskia. See if she regrets that particular life choice. She may well do by the time we've done. I have three fabulous guests from the wonderful Kricket. So if you could all introduce yourself, and we'll start at the end with you, Eve.
Hi, I'm Eve from Suffolk, and I've been working for Kricket for about 1.5 years now. I'm the bar supervisor in Brixton.
Amazing.
I'm Shona. I'm from Hemel Hempstead. I've been with Kricket for about 5 years now, and I am on the people team.
Okay, very cool.
Hi, I'm Rick. I'm the co-founder of Kricket. I was born in Devon, moved all over the country, but I've been in London for the last 13 years, so I like to think I'm from London now.
Seems fair.
Yeah.
I'm in London like 2 days a week, so I'm kind of halfway claiming it a little bit, to be fair.
I mean, my parents actually live in Suffolk, where Eve's from, so beautiful part of the world.
Sounds fabulous. Suffolk. Oh yeah, I've got some friends with there. Paddy and Scott's the coffee people. See,
Nice.
they're lovely people.
Yeah,
they do a
coffee,
good.
I like it there, yeah.
Really. See, they'll be pleased now to hear that you like what they're doing. Shout out Paddy and Scott's. Absolutely, there you go. See, Saskia's now already kind of she's probably sitting somewhere in a corner. She's feeling a chest pain, feeling things tighten. It's already going off track. So, tell us who you are. Why are you currently working in hospitality? What brought you to it? What made you think this is the place for me?
Well, while I was studying, I had a part-time job in hospitality as a host, and then when I finished studying, I just sort of carried on, and it's something that I really enjoy, so I've really loved it.
Perfect. So it just kind of grabbed you.
Yeah.
It will happen. And Eve?
I was the same. I kind of fell into it. Like, I was just got into hospitality because I needed to save up a bit of money. I wanted to go travelling, and then started working in a bar when I was back in Suffolk. Absolutely loved it. Fell in love with the team. Fell in love with chatting with people, and just it kind of just stuck, really. Yeah.
It's the best part of the job, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That kind of whole relationship piece from kind of the team around you to the people who cross your thresholds every day. It's an absolute joy. And Rick, what kind of drew you into it? Where did Kricket come from?
Similar stories. I mean, I worked in a pub on my gap year. It was my first experience of hospitality, and really enjoyed socialising with customers. And then when I was at uni, I set up an events business, so I used to do a lot of student nights and things like that. Again, quite sociable. And then actually when I left uni, I went to work in the city at Deloitte in corporate finance. It was a good start, but decided that, didn't really want to be in the corporate world. Kind of wanted to pursue entrepreneurial interests, and that was in hospitality. I wasn't really sure whether it would be in bars or restaurants, and kind of fell into restaurants with Will, my business partner, who'd come back from India and was a very talented chef. So yeah, fell into restaurants after a stint in the city and haven't looked back since.
It's a quite well-trodden path, isn't it? From a stint in the city into actually I'm going to go into hospitality. Why do you think that is?
I think it's the entrepreneurial side for sure, and if you like people and making people happy, then. But I think it's important to have a good business background in some respects to run restaurants, because I think it's all well and good being creative, but it's a business at the end of the day, a very difficult business to make profitable. That's why you see so many closures. And so, I think part of the success of our team is, one, having Will, who's the creative and the IP, if you want to put it, but me having a business background, particularly in finance, which I think it's a good team. So, we're not the only example. I know Blacklock, for example, Gordon, the founder of Blacklock, was a lawyer, so also very helpful.
I mean, yes, for sure. Certainly when you have a mouth like mine in hospitality. I've said some stuff over the years, I'll be honest with you. I'm a good lawyer on retainer. It's always a safe bet. Always a safe bet. So from a progression pace, Shona, you said you've been here for 5 years. Do you get the progression? Do you see the path for progression, and kind of do you see it for the future for you?
100%. I started off as a host in the Soho restaurant part-time, and then slowly sort of became full-time, and then from there I've just progressed really well, and there's still room to progress, especially now we're probably going to expand.
I think Shona is actually a really good example. Well, they're both good examples. Eve, how long have you been here, Eve?
A year and a half.
Year and a half.
I
yeah.
thought it was longer, but
Yeah.
they're both
She
good.
literally just said it a minute ago. One of us was listening.
Look, I think they're both good examples of hopefully what we're doing right in terms of investing in people who actually really want to be here. And Shona's been here 5 years, started as a host, worked in all restaurants pretty much. Is great with people and therefore wants to move her into the people team as well. So she supports our head of people. And it's a big part of our plans going forward and for expansion. So, we don't expect everyone to be here for 5 years, but if we can get 2 or 3 years out of people and them being committed and develop us and we develop them, then that's, I think, a win.
For sure. And I think from your perspective, that experience in the restaurants, kind of in amongst the teams, helps tremendously. I think when you work in a support office role, head office role. Head office? What do you call it?
Oh, either. But I could not agree more with that point. And actually, if you look at our whole head office, pretty much everyone has worked in the restaurants, apart from maybe finance, which is fair enough.
But it does make a huge difference.
Yeah, because everyone in the restaurants and operations responds really well to people who know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we should actually make that a sort of a policy of going forward.
You have to, yeah.
You have to have worked in the
And you
restaurants.
understand a lot more once you've worked on the floor and you're in head office. And, things come to you that you then understand that you wouldn't necessarily understand if you had never worked in the restaurant.
Especially on the people side as well.
You have
Hugely.
problems come to you that you can actually empathise with. And
Yeah, you
therefore
understand.
can actually,
Yeah.
definitely.
It makes such a big difference. And I guess from your side, you've kind of been in the restaurant. And tell us a bit about Brixton. What's the feel of Brixton's cricket?
It's cool.
Cool. I would expect
Brixton's
nothing
cool.
less than Brixton.
Yeah. It's different to Soho and White City. It's a slightly more laid back vibe. Like I said, you've got more kind of locals and returning customers. Like I have regulars who come back and they'll come and sit at the bar and have a chat with me, and they know my name, and it's really, really nice. Slightly different to Soho and White City. You'll have obviously a few more tourists or maybe people who are just in on business lunches, things like that. We're a bit more able to let people sit and they can have a catch up with friends and they can chill there for a good while, which it's really, really nice. I really, really love the clientele in Brixton. It's a good place to work.
Sounds very cool.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot like I started out running pubs back in the day when I was a little lad, and it's what you're just describing there is that feel that's kind of, I guess they call it the Cheers feel, don't they? Where kind of a place where everybody knows your name. Another reference for the younger people in the room. Well played, Kieran. This is why you don't have an old man doing a young person's podcast. But that feeling where kind of everybody knows who you are and you know who they are when they walk through the door. So that's a wonderful thing, and that sense of community and relationship.
Yeah, it's a really, really nice feeling. It's really good.
I mean, Kricket was born in Brixton, actually in Pop Brixton first, and then
Love that place.
and then moved to Atlantic Road. So we've got people who've been coming in since the start. And in fact, sometimes when I'm there in service, which is not as much as I'd like to be there these days, but I do get stopped by customers saying, "Oh, I used to come in the shipping container and you served me." And I'm like, wow. So it's special though.
That's an amazing feeling when you know that kind of people have followed the progression of your business along that road. I mean, I've had some great nights in Pop Brixton.
Yeah.
From your perspective, Eve, kind of when you think about progression, what are you looking for from the future, and how is Kricket going to help you get to where you want to be?
Well, like Rick said, we're already kind of seeing it. I think I know with Shona definitely, but with me having only been there a year and a half, I started off as a bartender. And then I think I can't remember when it was, but it was a few months back, I got promoted to bar supervisor. And I'm already seeing kind of, like what we said is, if you kind of show that you're interested in the progression and you say, this is what I want to get out of it, they will make the space for you to grow, which I've noticed from the beginning. Like from the first conversation I think I had with Shona, she was talking to me about do you enjoy hospitality? Do you want to progress? What are you looking to do? Do you have other dreams that this is just a kind of stepping stone? And I said to her, I actually really, really enjoy it, and that I had worked in hospitality recruitment before. And she was like, well, if that's something you're interested in, talk to us about it, and we'll make the space for you to kind of delve into that more. So I can definitely see it, and I know that if you just communicate and you say, this is what I want to do, they'll try their best to to make the space for you to grow into that.
That's very cool. I saw a stat yesterday shared by the folks from UDA, and they were talking about the fact that I think it's 29% of people who within 2 months of being promoted into a new role leave that business, which is that's a terrifying number.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting idea that you get that promotion, which we feel is the thing that people are looking for, and certainly from your perspective is definitely what you wanted. But I guess it comes down to the support that we offer people once they've been promoted on those lines. What are Kricket doing to support those managers and supervisors that are taking those steps up?
I think it all comes from the top, doesn't it, and flows through. I'm not in there making sure that Eve is supported. It's the general manager of the site, followed by our head of beverage, and we don't. I think it's a fine balance between chucking more responsibility at people, but then making sure that they're ready for it as well. So I've always been a big believer in giving people autonomy and letting people make mistakes, and then learning from there. So I prefer to let them crack on and then support as and when they need. But I don't like to micromanage either. So it's kind of a balance of all those things. But in terms of progressing people, I think, like I said, hospitality is a transient industry. It always will be, especially in the UK, but and if people want to be here for 6 months, that's also fine. Just give us the best you can give for 6 months. But the people like these guys display an extra commitment and perhaps an interest in being here long term. Then we will invest in people like that and progress them and train them even more so. Be it if they're here for 2 years or 5 years. So
I think we're the world of hospitality has changed. There is no getting around it. I mean, I took my first business when I think I was 20, 21, and it's changed a lot from then. We were looking for people to stay with us for 4 or 5 years as long as we possibly could do, whereas now we're looking at chapters in books, basically. And I think you've just hit the mark there that actually, let's just make sure the chapter in that book, the one that we give, the one that you give to these guys, is the best chapter. It's the most colourful, it's the most enjoyable, it is the one that's layered with the most memories. That for me becomes really key. So from your perspective, I guess, as our Gen Z guests, what advice would you give Kricket, the founders of Kricket? You've got one sitting here right now, and it seems very open, I have to say.
Yeah.
What advice would you offer to say, actually, if we could do this would be amazing? It's not necessarily just about you, but for your generation. I'm not asking you to be spokespeople, unless you want to be. It's cool. What advice would you give?
I think just as we expand, just keeping that sort of commitment to the team members that show commitment. I think it's really easy if you do expand quite quickly to sort of lose that. But I think that's probably the most important thing for me anyway.
No, I completely agree. I think the kind of amount of care and attention that's given to people, especially the people, like you said, who you want to invest more time into. I think as we start to open more sites and it's going to start to get bigger and you're going to have more staff to look after, that you don't lose those kind of people who are with you from, well, not the beginning, but the people who you want to invest more time into.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It's not always obvious, actually, those people. Some people are outspoken and say, I'm looking to get promoted, I want more responsibility, and some people don't, and that's just their personality. And sometimes we have to recognise, actually, they are here for the long term and they would be good at being developed and learning and taking more responsibility. They're just not really saying to us. And sometimes you actually have to usher people to do that. There's a good example in Soho, I won't mention names, of someone we had to say, you must be a supervisor, you're very good. And he's like, oh, no, and he's been with us 5 years. So,
That falls into a really interesting line there. I think I think every business has got those people who are just amazing. And you look at them and think, you're killing it every single time you turn up. But that understanding, knowing what is the difference between progression and development. I think everybody wants development within their role. And I think listening to you both, that's very obvious. But not everybody is craving that progression, where we look at it as business leaders and think, well, it's just logical that I would take you a step up. So how, as a founder, how do you manage that within you? Because you've got somebody there, you're looking and thinking, you're kicking ass every time you come to work.
But you can't force people to take a promotion or progress. Definitely, I totally agree with you. Developing people, you can always keep developing people and keeping people interested in trainings, all that. They don't necessarily have to progress. And ultimately, you can't progress everyone. You know, there's that saying, you can't have more chiefs than Indians, can you? You can't. There's not room for everyone. So it's important to, again, identify who are the right people and invest in those people. And yeah, the larger you get, as with everything, the more difficult that becomes. But I'd like to think that we can retain that. I mean, 1 in 6 of our team have been with us over 5 years, so that, and we've grown a lot in 5 years. So that would suggest that we're doing something right.
Very much so. That's cool. So from your perspective, what is the thing? So if somebody was going to come to you and try and lure you away from the thing that is hospitality, and I call it a beautiful obsession, because for me it's become that over the years. What is it? What's the thing that could persuade you away from this beautiful obsession called hospitality?
Anything that I could do, like, creatively.
Okay.
Like, I still don't know. I think a lot of people obviously still don't really know what they want to do. I know that a lot of people say that, but I knew that I wanted to do something creative, and I'm glad that I do get to do creative stuff all the time. And I get to, I get to do a lot of, like, manual stuff all the time. It keeps me, busy, keeps me moving, and I absolutely love it. If I was able to do something that kind of stimulates me a bit more creatively, then that would probably be the thing to lure me away. But
so what would that look like? Are we talking videography? Are we talking photography?
I used to think photography. I go through, like, phases with it. I used to think photography. I was thinking graphic design. I've thought, like, all sorts of different things. I keep dabbling in different things, and I still don't know what it would be. So it's difficult to be lured away from it when I still quite can't put my finger on it. But yeah.
I mean, I get that. I talked about it. I'm nearly 50 and I still don't really know what I want to be in life.
Exactly.
I was watching an interesting TED talk from I've forgotten the lady's name, but she was talking about this idea of multi-potentials, where basically it used to be called the Renaissance man, it's called the polymath, but it's basically you're good at quite a few different things that you can cut across. And I think hospitality is one of those businesses and industries that enables that quite nicely, to be fair. So if I'm sitting in your shoes right now, I'm thinking, okay, Eve wants to engage her creative mind. Well, how can I help her do that? And I think we're on a perpetual drive for kind of content creation for social media.
Yeah.
And we've got people around us who are quite talented. I remember I was consulting at a restaurant, and we had a young lady. She'd studied fine art in Florence, and she just didn't get to use her art. She was just doing a job. So we gave her the windows to paint, and she did this most amazing mural across the windows. And it took her 2 days to do it, and she did it as part of her day job. But the sense of kind of accomplishment becomes really huge. So as a founder, you get the opportunity to look at that and think, well, okay, Eve's kind of going down the creative road. How do I be able to engage in that? Is that kind of something that you look at?
Yeah, and interestingly, the larger we get, the more room there is for roles like that within the business. I mean, I'm currently looking at the marketing department right now, which is actually non-existent because Ali's on maternity and we're kind of picking it up between us. But there's a want and a desire to invest in a lot more marketing next year with new openings and things. And so how do we structure that? Okay, are we going to have a higher social media manager or content creator under our marketing manager? Okay, fine. Is that someone internally or is that someone externally? So yeah, it's interesting to hear people's other interests and whether we can support that within the business. But ultimately, if people want to go and do something else, we're also supportive of that. Thanks very much. You've given us 2 great years, and we wish you all the best. And if you change your mind and want to come back, then doors always open.
For sure. And Shona, from your perspective, kind of what does the future look like for you? You kind of made the move into the people team. Where do you want to be in your mind? And how can Kricket help you get there?
Yeah, I think kind of the same. I came from a fine art background, so definitely have that in me. But now that I've been sort of fed into this progression path, I definitely see I want to be head of people. I want to carry on. I really enjoy this new path and learning and just growing. And you always do that in hospitality. Mm-hmm. You're always learning, you're having to change, you're having to adapt. And I think that's really exciting.
That's very cool.
I like it.
I love that.
Shona's definitely going to have her work cut out over the next 12 months. In fact, you might be hiring someone in your team soon, I think. Probably. We'll need to.
There you
go.
More people team people.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. More than 2 people.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll certainly be leaning more towards the team part with at least 3 people in it, to be fair. Yeah, I think that's really cool, actually. I think that idea of kind of looking at what the people team needs and to grow this business, and it needs a really strong and stable kind of people team behind it. Excellent, cool. So how do your friends feel? Because when you talk about your career, do you have many friends that are working within hospitality?
No.
No?
No.
That makes me
I
sad.
didn't expect you to say that. Actually.
Makes me sad a little bit, that does.
Apart from maybe the friends at work.
The friends at
Well,
work,
yeah,
but outside of work, no one's in hospitality actually. My brother and sister are, and they love hospitality. But in terms of like peers, people who I went to school with, or like friends, no one.
It's a bit of a sad reality of the hospitality industry in the UK, I think. Unlike my wife's American, just been in California for a few weeks. So different out there, hospitality. So different, perception, the camaraderie amongst other, not just in the restaurants, but other restaurants. There's, loads of people working in hospitality.
Yeah. So how do those friends who are kind of not in it, how do you think they view your career choices?
I think there's a lot about it that they don't know and don't really understand. I mean, I had a friend come to visit me last night, and we went for dinner in Kricket Soho, and I was telling him about kind of like perks of the industry and things that you can do, supplier trips, like supplier trip we've just been on, and then like going to other venues to eat or drink, and if you know someone and they know where you work, then you might get some bits here and there. And he was like, I had no idea that all of this was happening, and I was like, to be honest, I didn't realise until I started doing hospitality in London how much of a network there is, and I think a lot of my peers don't know about it at all. They don't realise like how much you can kind of get around with it, which is really cool.
All of those benefits, I guess, is the key thing, isn't it? And you're right, it's kind of like, it's that underground kind of vibe where it's just, you kind of go in there and you get a little shake and a little nod of the head and a bit of a, hey, how you doing, good to see you.
Oof, I need a break.
Well, that's fortunate, because Spilling the Tea is sponsored by Toast. Toast is an all-in-one point-of-sale platform built specifically for restaurants. That's right, it's built specifically for restaurants and means you can run your entire restaurant from one platform.
And did you also know that Toast customers have told us that you can integrate the front of house with the back of house and reduce ticket times by 40%?
40%?
I know. So a huge thank you to Toast for supporting both the UK and this podcast.
Back to work, Sass.
From your perspective, kind of, when you said that you made that decision to come from the kind of the world of finance into hospitality, I assume that you had a lot of friends around you potentially going, okay.
I'm not sure it was friends, actually. It was more my parents.
Okay, fair play.
Giving up at the time, I think I was on 50 grand in the city or something, that was 8 years ago, 9 years ago.
It's a good wage.
As a 25-year-old. So I think that was quite good. And so sort of giving that up to earn nothing, my parents were like, no.
It's a bold move.
Absolutely no. And there were times, where I did question it. Not many. But obviously that's changed since, given the sort of path we've been on, and now they're like, my son owns 3 restaurants, But from friends, not so much, actually. Our friends were incredibly supportive. When we opened the pop-up in Pop Brixton, they would always come. So, yeah, incredibly supportive and somewhat proud of us as well. So, but yeah, I don't have that many friends pre-cricket that are in hospitality. I have more friends now in hospitality that I've met through hospitality and other restaurant owners and bar owners, and I love it. Like Eve said, I do love the industry and the perks of the industry, especially if you like immerse yourself in it and really commit to it.
I think that's the key, isn't it? Realistically speaking, and everyone, for those who can't see, everyone is nodding here quite ferociously. It is that immersion element. It's just kind of just leaning into it in as big a way as possible and just kind of seeing what the opportunities that are out there and kind of what it can create for you. I think is absolutely the key. So she's got me a stat here. So a Bank of America report found that 25% of Gen Z workers have switched job in the last 6 months and that more are on the move every day. That's just depressing. Why has she sent me that? I don't even understand. So Rick, from your perspective, how does that make you feel? And what does it mean for your recruitment process?
Well, Shona should answer that one, but
fair play.
No, I'm not surprised. Gone are the days where you kind of thought, the only jobs in the world are bankers, lawyers, doctors, dentists, whatever. Like we discussed earlier, there's people have multi talents and multi roles and multi interests. So, and there's a lot of Gen Z who are still working out what they want to do. Is it trade Bitcoin or be an influencer? I don't know. Yeah, it's a bit of a sad stat, but I do understand it in some respects as well. Hopefully, it doesn't quite apply to ours. I think our hiring process is quite good now insofar as we can be a bit more selective than we were maybe back in the day. We know what the right things to look out for, so we don't have 25% of our Gen Z leaving us, pretty quickly. So. But yeah, Shona, perhaps you can elaborate a bit more.
So, what? Let's talk about that. What are you looking for when it comes to recruiting people within the business? Do you have like a kind of culture ad situation?
Yeah. So I think it's rather than experience and what that person has done in hospitality, it's more will they fit our culture, and people always kind of want the sense of belonging, and I think that makes a huge difference because our teams, they're not massive teams. The GMs are very floor focused, everyone's floor focused, it's definitely a team, and I think a lot of people want to feel like they belong, and when they come and they do their trial shift, they see, it's definitely something to be a part of, and that's exciting. So it's more the personality and the culture fit that we look for now, and that definitely helps.
I saw a stat, and it was, I think 64% of millennials and Gen Z won't entertain working for a brand if there is a lack of alignment with values and culture. How do you tell the story of your values and kind of what is the culture of cricket? How are you getting it out there and letting people see it?
I mean, the various channels really, from online and social, and we do a lot, don't we, in terms of building our people packs and our inductions and all that kind of stuff. You only have to go on our website. There's a page on there about the OGs. 4 or 5 OGs and their backgrounds and where they started and how long they've been at cricket, to, when we hire people within the first month, they do an induction, they go down to Brixton, they see where we started, the roots we came from in Pop Brixton, we go through all the dishes, we go through our values and our culture and what we expect and what we can offer and all the benefits. So, yeah, we try and do our best, don't we? And
we try really hard not to say anything that we can't back up. So, everything that we say we're going to do, we want to do and deliver that. And 99% of the time we do, and we don't want to overpromise. We want to be really realistic and transparent with, what we're doing, so that it's not misleading or, something that they weren't expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we've all worked in places where kind of people kind of say, right, this is how we behave, this is how we operate, and then on the first day you walk in and go, whoa.
This is,
It's a bit weird. I remember working for a restaurant chain, and I was talking to them about the food, and it was a relatively new brand, and they said, yep, everything's cooked from scratch, it's all amazing, life's good, everything's groovy, and I was like, cool. And I left a job that I'd been doing for sort of 5 years, a brand that I was really attached to, because I thought this is going to be amazing. And I walked into one of the restaurants on my first day of my kind of induction training, and I just did a lap of the building, and while I'm doing a lap, I then sort of stroll through the kitchen and I start to count fridges and freezers, because I always think it's a good indicator. And I had to take my shoes and socks off for the freezers to get the full number, and fridges were on one hand, and on that day I could have literally just picked up and gone, this is not for me, have a good day. I should have trusted that instinct, to be honest with you, because it wasn't great. So having that kind of that culture of we do what we say we're going to do becomes really key. And Eve, I guess from your world in Brixton, do you see that? Is that kind of, does it feel like that's happening every single day, or do you have moments where you just think, And if you do you have a method for being able to just highlight that up and ask questions?
In terms of like the culture,
yeah.
Do you mean? Yes. I mean, even in my first week, like the way I was kind of introduced to cricket was like kind of perfect for me. It was, the first week happened, at the end of the first week we have this annual wild garlic picking trip, and it was the end of my first week, and I met absolutely everyone in the company all at the same time.
That does feel like perfect time.
Yeah. So I mean, even just like my first week, getting introduced to everyone and like chatting to everyone, there was kind of like a buzz, which was something I've not really experienced before in places that I've worked. It was kind of like, oh, have you tried this? Have you tried there? Have you tried this dish? Have you tried soma? Have you tried? And it was kind of like everyone was excited about all of it. You could tell that everyone believed in what they were talking about, which really, really got me excited as well. Then had the garlic picking trip. Then had my induction with Shona, because obviously she's the people team, so she ran my induction and she told us all about like the cricket culture and like the help with mental health was a massive thing for me as well.
Okay.
We did it was Mental Health Week. I think we did a walk. A few of us went on a walk, and then Shona ran. This is where the fine art came into it. She ran a still life drawing session for anyone who wanted to turn up. So we just spent a couple of hours in Brixton just drawing, which was Rick came to model.
Rick in his shorts, mind his own business. That's actually knows about your legs.
I've got this horrible image in my head now.
Let's not share it.
I did actually pop in though. I happened to be in the building whilst they were doing it. I just loved seeing it. It was great.
It's an amazing thing. I mean, that's what you've just described as a kind of first week of an induction. It does feel kind of perfect.
It was great. Yeah, it was really, really good. Even like my trial shift, I was so nervous. I had just spent 6 months working an office job, which I really, really didn't enjoy. I really was desperate to get back to hospitality, but I felt so rusty and I was really, really nervous. And I was getting ready and I got a call from Shona and I'd never met her before and she was like, "How are you doing? How are you feeling?"
How you doing?
She was like, "Don't worry, don't be nervous." She was like, "The team in Brixton are lovely. Everyone's great." She was like, "You've got a great general manager." She was like, "It's the best." Like, she was like, "It's a really, really good vibe there. Don't worry at all." And it put me at ease, like instantly. It was before I'd even met her.
I love that.
So yeah, I felt very welcomed from the beginning. It was really, really good culture.
That's top draw. I mean, trial shifts are an interesting thing to talk about because I sometimes think that people use them as a tool to catch people out rather than set them up for success. And I think what you've just described that conversation with Shona, everything that you're doing there is setting Evie up for success when she actually walks through that door for the first time.
Well, especially now because it's an employees market, so it's them coming to trial the restaurant, see if it's somewhere they want to work, rather than us trialing them. So it's
how do we stand out from
the rest?
other
And
brands?
our head of people, Monsef, he's a huge advocate of being at the door to welcome them as soon as they arrive. So a friendly face being there. Hey, I'm so and so. Come in. This is the team. This is the site. This is where you'll be working tonight. This is the plan for your. It's more a sort of informal chat rather than a where have you worked? What's your intentions?
Yeah, well, I don't think we even look at CVs anymore.
What are your intentions? I'm a fan of that. What are your intentions?
I think it's.
my restaurant.
You can gauge within a few minutes of meeting someone whether they're from both sides as well. It's really important. First impressions, isn't it?
I mean, it's huge. And I was in a conversation with some people and we were talking about trial shifts and how they work. And that conversation up front of kind of setting somebody up for success, kind of do they know if they're driving, where they're going to park? Do they know which bus gets them closest to it? All the stuff that actually for me just felt really quite basic. Like that's just being decent.
I know. Yeah,
it's hospitality.
You'd be surprised though. You'd be surprised how difficult people find those easy wins. A lot of the stuff we do is actually quite obvious, but a lot of businesses and a lot of hospitality don't do it. So,
which is genuinely weird. I mean, the whole it's quite literally the clue is in the title. My job here is to make your day better.
Yeah.
That's it. It's as simple as can be. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that most of us love about hospitality. So Eve, you kind of touched on the mental health element, and I think it's something that kind of we have to look at because, again, as a dusty old man here, kind of when I was sort of 21, I wasn't thinking about my mental health. I was having bad days where I wanted to hurt people. That was a problem. I wasn't always a nice 21-year-old. I'm not going to lie to you. But it wasn't really a consideration. It was just like, we just got to get through this and we just got to keep on we've got to find a way to kind of, be happy in some way, shape or form. And if we can't necessarily be happy, then just find a way to exist where nobody has to die today. Saskia is going to edit that out. I guarantee you. But from your perspective, that's clearly changed drastically, I guess, is a simple answer.
Yeah.
What are you looking for from a kind of a support from the business that you work with?
Just kind of like proving that you do care, that you're thinking about it. It doesn't have to be a massive deal. Like I said, like we ran this still life drawing session, and it was really, really handy. Like, I think all of us thoroughly enjoyed it, and we all said that we would happily do it again. But even just like little check-ins here and there, little catch-ups, going for coffee with whatever manager, just chatting about how you're getting on. Let's say like I was promoted and started a new role. Okay, how are you getting on with that? How's it going? How's the workload? Is everything okay? Just kind of showing that you do kind of care, and showing that you're aware of someone else's mental health, and maybe just passing on a bit of knowledge as to like how you can cope with if you're a bit stressed out. Because I've worked with people in the past who they've been in hospitality for years, and they'll say, oh, back in my day it was like this and no one cared and we had just to get through it. And they would also say, oh yeah, this one time I threw something at a guy because he really annoyed me. And it's like, okay, well, maybe if you focus a little bit on your mental health at work, then you wouldn't be having these kind of like lashings out. Like, I think it can benefit absolutely everyone. It doesn't matter if you are like diagnosed with something or, Yeah,
because also, everyone thinks that mental health is like negative connotations, but that's not always the case. You can have positive mental health.
Yeah.
But the catch-up thing is really important. We used to have like structured catch-ups, and then actually I watched this, I think it was a TED talk by a lady from Adobe, and she said they scrapped all catch-ups because what you should be doing is catching up with your team all the time, be it 30 seconds or a 5-minute coffee or a 30-minute catch-up. So I just said to the guys who don't want no structure on catch-ups now, you should be catching up with your teams every week. And so when we have managers meetings, I want to hear how are your teams every week. And so, regular catch-ups and positive feedback and constructive feedback all go to making people feel better at work, but also, supported as well.
Yeah, I think you made that really good point. That kind of when you talk mental health, you have the picture of of sadness and unhappiness. And actually, when it comes to mental health, what we should be doing, if we're doing it the right way and kind of utilising the tools we've got available to us, then we're throwing 50p in the meter on a more regular basis. So things are just staying on either on an even keel or kind of just hopefully a little bit above that. And I think that concept of just binning off kind of scheduled feedback sessions and feedback kind of regular catch-ups, I think it's so easy to become obsessed with that, that actually it becomes tick box rather than just a genuine conversation of kind of, hey, how are you doing? Where are we at? I mean, I've just was chatting with, for some reason, we have an office about 10 minutes across in Southwark, and all of my team this morning are all working from Brewdog. And that's telling me maybe we need to be in the office, I'm not sure.
I thought it was busy in here.
Yeah, there's loads of, to be fair.
They're all drinking as well.
The young one there on the slide, just you get a discount rate when the younger heads for works. But we were chatting away, and she was like, "Oh, it's been weeks since we've been able to catch up like this. Really nice." And we just talked randomly about junk, to be honest with you. But that's kind of really key to building those relationships and building that trust, I think, which is super key. Okay. So I think we're about 30 minutes now. So she's probably going to be telling me that. So that's probably enough, Kieran. So I think we've hit some good marks here, and you've dropped some real gold. What is if I was going to give you the opportunity to share one last thing for the listeners, whether it is from you're looking at it from a Gen Z and kind of dealing with kind of dusty old boys, how we can kind of make life better and how we can kind of create a working environment that works for everybody, or whether or not you're looking at it from a founder's perspective and thinking, you know what, we've changed the game a little bit and these are some ways in which you can make it work. What would be, do you have one piece of advice that you would share? And I'm looking straight at you, Shona, which feels like I'll put the pressure right on you.
It does. I think just be open and vocal about your needs and also what you think will help improve. I think, especially with Rick and Will, they're very open to suggestions all the time, and I think they're willing to listen to it and make changes based off of, everyone's suggestions who works for cricket. So I think just keep being vocal and,
Keep the communication open.
Yeah, communication is key. Yeah,
just is.
The last bit of advice. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, one of my pet hates is people bottling things up. I especially when we're so open, and encourage people to speak their mind and feedback. So, I think ultimately, the higher up the ladder you get, the less it becomes about technical skills, and the more it becomes about emotional skills and people. You asked Will, who his title is exec chef, and I think when we first opened Pot Brixton, he didn't ever think he'd be anything apart from a chef, but I think he probably spends 50% of his time on people now, not food, and that will only become more.
And for me, the more chefs who adopt that mindset, the absolute better.
Yeah.
It becomes a wonderful thing. So from a cricket perspective, what's the next exciting thing, the big exciting thing that's coming that we should be paying attention to?
We've got a new opening coming in spring next year.
Amazing.
Kricket restaurant and a bar. I can't say a location because I haven't actually done the press release yet. So
That seems fair.
but I'm very excited because actually the last Kricket restaurant we opened was in September 2018. A lot has happened since then. You know, we started the delivery business and we opened Soma, which is next door to Kricket Soho. We've actually doubled in size, people-wise as well. So, but we haven't opened a restaurant for a while, so I'm very excited to do that.
Amazing. So you touched on that delivery element. It's kind of, we were talking beforehand about kind of how it would become a fairly key part of the business. How when it comes to building the next restaurant and building a new restaurant, is that going to be built with that in mind specifically?
Actually, no.
Nice.
No. Delivery business is really strong at the moment, but we're focusing on restaurants and bars for now. I think actually the model is more like put a restaurant in the area, build the brand, and then maybe open a delivery kitchen nearby so you have both. Because what we realised during COVID is that the reason why our delivery business is so strong and took off so well was because of the brand equity that we had from the restaurants. So actually I think that's the way around to do it. Way around to do it. Restaurant and then maybe delivery afterwards.
There you go. And that's a solid piece of advice to leave with as well. Perfect. So Saskia's got some quick fire questions. No pressure. So she's like, Jesus, I thought we were done, Kieran. You said we were almost done now. Not quite, Shona, not quite. So the most used app on your phone, what is it?
Oh, sadly, but I've got an excuse. YouTube, but I don't have a TV at home, so and it's mainly for podcasts.
Okay.
I don't think that's that bad.
You're not?
Yeah.
I hate how much I use it though.
I genuinely thought you were going to say Outlook, I'll be honest with you. It's going to make me really sad. Sadly, it's Outlook. I just do email all the time. Shona? Instagram.
Yeah, it's Instagram. I'm so ashamed, but yeah.
There's a lot of shame on this side of the table right now, you know. I have no shame. My most used app at this point in time is TikTok.
Is it?
Okay,
Yeah.
Oh, I've never been on it.
Ever? Christ. I've got a weird thing for watching wood turning videos. It's very relaxing.
I mean, they have all that on YouTube as well.
Fair. No, that's fair. You know what I mean? That is fair. So where do you get your news from, Eve? If you say Instagram, we're going to have a problem.
I know, I'm so sorry. Yeah, a lot of it's Instagram. And then I'll kind of see something and be like, what? And then check BBC News.
So Instagram into BBC News for verification.
Yeah, for verification.
Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
They're shifty as well, but we've got different questions.
The same, but I Google it after.
Ah, nice. Yeah,
Okay.
good.
And from you?
Sky News and BBC.
Easy life. Favourite social media channel seems like we're going to go for a clean sweep here, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
What is it about Instagram that brings you so much joy?
I think, do you know what? I think it's just like automatic now. I don't even think about it. I just find myself.
I just
on
go
it.
straight to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even.
Like I don't even. Know
So
how
you're
I
an
got to
addict,
it.
is what you're telling me.
Yeah, it's fun.
I mean, they do invest billions in neuroscience to do this exact thing.
Yeah.
So.
It works.
I don't know how
Really
I got
works.
on there. I don't know how long I've been on there for.
Just lost in it.
I'm on there.
You're in a hole.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a case for muscle memory just taking over in an amazing way.
I tried deleting it, and even when I deleted it, I would find myself going on my phone and clicking where it used to be, because that's how bad
everyone
the
does
muscle
that,
memory
everyone
is.
does that.
It's
Well,
so bad.
just clicking aimlessly. It's not there anymore. I deleted it. I'll get it back. It's fine. It's not gone forever. It's not gone forever. YouTube for you, I guess?
No, I guess that is social, yeah, but YouTube or Instagram. But I'm not on anything else. I don't do Facebook, don't do Twitter, don't do TikTok, don't do Snapchat, none of that. Yeah.
I love a bit of Twitter. I refuse to call it X. I just can't get into that.
Okay,
at all.
sorry, it's called X.
Elon's an idiot. You know, he's messed with the brand. It makes no sense. But I have little bits of rage every now and again, and Twitter's the place where I go to just express it and just get it off my chest. Favourite restaurant, aside from Kricket, obviously. I know you were there last night. Favourite restaurant, where do you go?
Fallow. Not that I go there all the time, but just. I
Just
think
as
it's
I was going to say we're paying you too much.
absolutely.
No offence to Fallow, because it's a great restaurant.
It's a great
and it's
restaurant.
worth every penny.
However,
Yeah.
Praise Structure in Brixton, leave review. Jonah?
Oh God, it changes quite a lot, but at the moment, probably I'm back on Kiln again.
Okay.
Feels a bit too close to home, though. I'm joking. I'm going to go local. and say Perilla in
Okay.
Newington Green.
Nice.
Love it.
Sounds good. Going out or staying in?
Going out. Yeah.
You just looked at me like, why is he asking stupid
Yeah,
questions I don't
of course.
understand?
Yeah, I'm never staying in really. Makes me feel uncomfortable. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's something to unpack there,
Kind of can't
but we'll
stay
come
still.
back to it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
Mine's
Jonah?
staying in. But
Staying.
when I want to go out, I go out.
You go out.
Out.
Out. Like Paddy McGuinness,
Exactly.
out, full
Out,
in.
yeah.
Okay, fair play. Now I'm intrigued to something to unpack there as well, to be fair. And Rick?
Yeah, going out, definitely.
Okay. Happy days. And last one, early shift or late shift?
I actually think late shift.
I mean, you have to say that because most of yours are late
Yeah, I
shifts.
think I work late shift.
It's not really an option, to be honest with you, Kieran.
Yeah.
I'd be a bit worried if you said early shifts.
Yeah, I never
shown
work
up.
early shift. I like having my mornings to myself.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you got your prep shifts and all that
Yeah,
stuff as well, don't you?
it's
So that's
great.
nice.
Yeah.
Early.
Early.
Yeah.
Why?
Then I can go home.
I mean, you
She
do
stays
enjoy,
in.
you
Go
do
and
enjoy
stay
staying in,
in.
don't you? It is a thing. It is a thing. Early's or late for you?
Always late, I think. You know, I don't, like I said, I don't get to work so much in the restaurants these days, but if I do a shift, it's always Friday or Saturday night and late and always stay to the end.
Mhm.
Love the vibe,
It's a thing, isn't it?
definitely.
It
And then
is.
when you walk down Shaftesbury Avenue at like 12 o'clock afterwards and try and find somewhere to eat and have a beer as well. Love it.
It's a feeling. It is. I was in a restaurant last week and I was watching the team just working. It was a Saturday night and it was all going off and everything was
Yeah.
cool, but everybody was doing what they should
It's
be doing.
organised chaos.
Yes, exactly
Love it.
that. It just the muscle memory, the systems
Yeah.
and processes. Everybody was doing it, and I was just looking and thinking, I kind of missed this a little bit. And then I stood up to go to the bathroom, and I realised I got knees made of dust, and I don't miss it that much at all, to be honest with you. So I'll stick with my own life right now. Amazing. Thank you all so much. It has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. It has been a hot little box, but you have been amazing guests. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you want to attract, retain, or develop your team, check us out at myatolo.com.
That is www.myatolo.com.